Bank of Canada announced this morning it was cutting its overnight target rate for the third time this month, slashing it by 50 basis points to 0.25%. Mr. Morneau also provided some new details on help that's coming for Canada's small businesses. Those measures include a new emergency business account. It will provide a government-backed loan of up to $40,000 to qualifying businesses. He also spoke about the government's decision to boost its previously announced wage subsidy for small and medium-sized businesses from 10% to 75%. That news was well received by Corinne Pohlmann. She's the Senior Vice President of National Affairs for the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Her organization had been calling for a more significant wage subsidy, and so I spoke with Ms. Pohlmann earlier this morning. Let's listen now to her reaction to the government's new measures. Ms. Pohlmann, thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
So you've been asking for this extra support from the government. What is your reaction to these new measures that were announced today by the Prime Minister?
Well, we're pleased that they have moved to increase the small business wage subsidy to 75%. That we felt that was absolutely integral to deal with the massive layoffs we're seeing all over the country right now as a result of COVID-19 and the closures that have been imposed on many small businesses. So really happy to see that has been increased. I think that will go a long way in helping many small businesses actually keep their employees, which is ultimately what we felt was important throughout this process.
Right, so talk to me about that increase, because it was initially set at 10%. It's now up to 75%. That's quite a big jump. So what concretely does that mean for the businesses that you represent?
Well, we're still waiting for lots of details. We only sort of got the high level today. But what it should mean is that the government will be covering up to 75% of the wages of their employees. What we don't know is if there's going to be a cap to how much that will actually look like in dollars, or if there's a limit to what type of businesses can be involved. We don't know if it's just small, is it medium, what sizes. We don't know if it includes both sole proprietors as well as incorporated businesses. So there's lots of details we don't know, but fundamentally, the idea is that the government will cover about 75% of the wages, while the employer would be responsible for the other 25%. But the idea is they can then keep those people in their business, and hopefully when they sort of rebound again, those people can help get the business back on track.
And we know that obviously in times of crisis like this, speed is absolutely of the essence here. So do these measures come soon enough to make a big enough difference?
Well, certainly it would have been nicer to have it a week ago, for sure. But we're hopeful that because they've backdated it, so it's actually backdated to March 15th, which is also very good news, that it will allow some small business owners, and we've actually heard from some already, that their plan is to rehire people that they had to let go as a result of not having any way to pay for them. But hopefully that will encourage some to actually rehire some of those folks and put them back on the payroll.
Right. And so what was happening these past 2 weeks while just 10% of that wage bill was being taken up by the federal government? Was that enough to really save any of those jobs?
Good question. We don't know. We'll have to sort of see how this all plays out. Like I said, it really will depend on what the actual details are behind this actual measure that's we've heard from today. Hopefully, like I said, it will encourage others to continue to bring people back into the business if they can. No doubt, it's still not going to be enough for some businesses out there, and we probably will still see people being laid off and or businesses closing, hopefully temporarily for sure, but some of them may even be for good. However, hopefully this will help keep that being as big as it could have been in the first place.
And we only have about a minute left, but obviously we've been hearing a lot about business owners that are extremely concerned about what this could mean for their workers, what this crisis could mean for their workers. Can you just paint us a picture of that reality on the ground, the sort of things you're hearing from businesses and how they might react to today's announcement?
Well, I think it'll be good news for a lot of them. For some of them, I think it will be maybe a little too late. They've already sort of made plans and they're moved forward. But I do think for a lot of them, this is good news. This is one measure. It's probably the biggest measure out of today, but there are other measures announced today that will also help. For example, they're going to be deferring the payment of things like GST and import duties, which will also help. They've also created a new emergency business account, which again, we need more details, but it looks like you can get up to $40,000 interest-free loan. And they're even looking at forgiving about $10,000 of that loan if you meet certain criteria. Again, details unknown. However, that will really help with some of their hard costs, which is the other thing that we're hearing a lot about in terms of businesses having to still pay rent and bills. So overall, I think this will be perceived as a really good step forward.
And just finally closing on this, as you said, there are still a lot of details to be worked out. What will you be watching for next to get a sense as to whether or not the government is really moving fast enough to respond to these concerns?
Yeah, obviously we want to know exactly how this wage subsidy will work and how quickly businesses can sort of get some of that money back into their pockets. So that'll be the most important thing. I suspect the Prime Minister did indicate that details will be coming next week. Hopefully it'll be Monday, not Friday, because the sooner we can get those details, the sooner we can get that information out there, because business owners are really desperate for that information and really interested in learning quickly how this can help them, because many of them are making decisions right now about what's going to happen to their business.
Absolutely, and we'll certainly be watching. Ms. Pohlmann, thanks very much for making the time to speak with me today.
Thank you.